Hi, so welcome to episode 4, on the back of episode 3, that's why we're wearing the same clothes. We do have on these clothes. So this is following on from our Nudge Education Spotlight On series with Jess and Claire, who are experts in the field of FASD, which is Fetal Alcohol Spectrum Disorder. Awareness Day, International Awareness Day is the 9th of September, which is partly why we're recording these sessions, but also because it's going to be a much bigger deal nationally, internationally, globally, very soon due to various changes in diagnostic laws. So this episode is all about why bother, why now, why?
So I think someone asked us that question, didn't they? When we were trying to think of things that we were going to talk about and how we were going to block things down into different little episodes. It was just like, but why? It was a genuine question, but why now? Why bother doing anything? What's different? What's changed? So I think the why bother, there's obviously a personal reason for both of us.
Very different personal reasons.
And I'm the mother of 3 young people with fetal alcohol spectrum disorder. So it's my entire life. So why bother? I have been bothering for the past however many years. And so that leads perfectly into why now, and it's because I won't say my battle is getting easier, but there are definitely, I've got more cheerleaders than people trying to fight us now, and I can feel the tide turning. I can feel that certainly in education, people who had been trying to convince that this was even a real thing are now like, right, what can we do? This is huge. What can we do? We can think of so many children with this. So I think that's the why now. Personally for me, they're my personal reasons.
Yeah, and you kind of don't downplay it. You're kind of a big deal in this kind of world as well.
I have accidentally become an expert, and I'm not an academic expert at all in this field. However, I don't know many people with the day-to-day experience raising 3, certainly for a decade, not knowing that's what I was dealing with. So I think that's what, and I think that is sadly the norm. So another reason why bother, why now, and we always go back to we know better now, so we do better now. And what we absolutely know for sure is that early diagnosis and early intervention is life-changing, it's life-saving. So that's why.
Yeah.
What better why than that?
Yeah.
We know the outcome, and that is one of my only regrets in life, is that I didn't push for this earlier, or even stumble across it earlier with my children with regards to their education. So I think that is one of my biggest fights on behalf of other people, to know that that's what you're dealing with early on, because the changes are phenomenal. It's unbelievable that the different outcomes that it will have.
Yeah.
So that's a very, very important why bother.
And I guess from a systems point of view as well, in terms of the governance and the practice, to put it in context, you're doing a PhD around this very interesting, complex and very diverse condition. In your university, you're attached to an art school, aren't you? You're not attached to an education or medical school.
Nope.
You are attached to an art school. So talk us through that, because this is an important part of academic change as well. I guess it's coming. So.
Yeah, I mean, my background is in art and creativity and all things creative. But through my academic journey, I came across people, and I was really, really influenced by my master's supervisor, who was an animation therapist and was doing all this amazing work with children with different conditions and had different life experiences. And so when I started my PhD, I knew there was something there, and I knew that the creative processes I've been working in could benefit a population in some way. But my supervisor said, you have to pick a condition to focus on. You can't go out there and be like, I'm going to help you all with what I develop. You have to pick something. So I went away and I started looking, and I stumbled across FASD, and I'd heard it before from a previous workplace where I'd been, but I just got lost in the lack of research of reading about it, and this is 2015.
That's what fascinated
so
you, wasn't it? That it
Yeah.
was so huge,
And I was like,
and it was just why is everybody ignoring it?
Where's-
Why is it not?
like, where is everything? Like, why am I having to read papers from the 70s and 80s and 90s? Like, where is all the information? Because there was so much knowledge of autism and ADHD and so much coming out and up to date as well. But FESD was so limited. And I presented this to my supervisors, and they were like, okay, well, you've not got much to work with here, which just drove me even more.
Yeah.
So I really stumbled across this condition and just found it fascinating, and now I plan to base my whole career around supporting and helping this population however I can. But I think it really changed for me when I started working at the camp and start to meet and engage with and care for children with this condition, because it just fascinated me even more. And as I keep learning, I have this conversation with everybody. I, a few years ago, became that person where we'd be out for drinks or something, and my boyfriend would introduce me to somebody, would bump into somebody who he went to school with or whatever in a bar, and they'd say, oh, what are you doing? Like, I'm doing a PhD and I work with kids with FASD. Oh, amazing, what's FASD? Well, sit down, because you've just ruined the next 3 hours of your night. I'm going to tell you some stories. And to the point where my boyfriend's like, oh, don't ask her that, don't ask what FASD is. But since I started my PhD and since I learned, I've got like such a passion to share this with people. So I'm like, how do you not know about this? And even my mum has worked, she's been a teacher and worked in special needs schools and stuff for years. She'd never heard of it. And now she comes back to me and she's like, oh, there's this child.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. And when you go and work in a different class, the same thing will be happening. And now there's people coming from everywhere who are like, oh, I once met somebody. And I had a friend who had been learning support worker at a college for people with autism, and she went, I had this kid once that just went all against all of my training and everything I knew about autism, and now I know what it is because I met you and heard about this. So
That's amazing. You had to go. It wasn't just like, oh, I'll go to the countryside here and go to a camp to support these kids.
Mm-hmm.
You had to travel across the Atlantic Ocean to go work.
I put myself on a plane.
Jessica has been all over the world. They don't even play. And this is what I love about. This is what fascinates me about Jessica's mind, because she tracked me down after hearing me speak on an interview 2 years ago on National FASD Awareness Day. And she was just like, I really, really want to talk to you. I want to meet you. And I'm doing a PhD. And at that point, and I assumed when we met for coffee, and I just assumed that you either had there was a family member that you knew someone, and then it was, as an academic brain, you looked at something and you were like, what? How can this be? There's nothing. There's not enough, and we need to change it. And so you are equally as passionate as me about it, but from a totally different angle. And then knowing that you couldn't just have an academic focus on it, because you need to put your money where your mouth was, and you need to entrench yourself 24 hours a day living with children and young people with FASD and helping them and helping you to gain your skills. I think you have got so much credibility in my eyes because of that.
Yeah, so this summer camp that I've been working with, the most intense week of my entire year. Like, and I've been doing my PhD alongside working full time and everything, but nothing compares to that week of camp. And this past year, obviously this year got cancelled, but last year I was the assistant director of operations. I was like overseeing all the staff and supporting the staff in their interactions with these children and their role of caring for these children. And at the start of the week I was like, you're not going to sleep. This is a 22 hour a day job.
This is correct.
For the week. You're not going to eat. So if somebody walks past with a plate of rolls or something, like a big tray of rolls at lunchtime, grab a roll. Don't wait till you're sat down with everybody else, because that might be you till 11 o'clock at night. if you get a minute and think, oh, I've got 5 minutes, what? Go and shower. That is your time to shower.
Because you might not for another 2 days.
Because that might be it. And I went, and they all sat there like, all right, you'll see. And honestly, like, there's a funny video actually of me doing the like just saying a few words to the parents once they come to collect the kids, and like the entire staff group is behind me like crying their eyes out, just looking like the most broken group of people I've ever seen. Because it's an emotional roller coaster.
Yeah, I'm surprised you're not confabulating your own things because they're flat asleep at the end of all of this stuff. So.
Yeah. And honestly, like, that experience has been so valuable to my PhD and my research and my own development and the work I do with this population. And I went back and interviewed, as part of my PhD, a lot of the staff that have been working there to like ask them about it and the lessons that they got out of just a few days and the empathy that they gained and all these realizations and, you know, the fire that they left with to go out and tell people about this condition. Like, for 2 years running, I left that camp, I went to the airport, I got on a plane to fly back to London, and I was asleep before we took off, and I woke up in Heathrow. I missed all my meals, like that level of exhaustion. And I don't know how Claire lives that every day. Like,
adrenaline, just adrenaline. And I just think, well, you know, until the point that I collapse and it doesn't work anymore, well, good. You know, I truly believe, like, I believe in the universe, the power of the universe and all that, and that my children were my purpose. And I believe that I've got a very definite purpose, and all of this is part of it. So that's what fuels me, and helping other people keeps my mental health in check, because it is the most isolating job, and a lot of it is a job. So I'm the adoptive mum, and so I'm the mum, and then an adoptive mum is a slightly different role, because you've got to be a little bit removed, because you've got to be like, and this is my opinion, you've got to be a case manager and an advocate and a professional, because if you're not, your children will just fall through every crack.
An awareness of the world before you, of their world before you.
Absolutely.
Which is significant.
And I just think, and that, so it's isolating and it's terrifying and it's exhausting, and you know, but you do just adjust, like I function on probably less than 4 hours sleep a night, and I just do, like when you have a newborn baby, but most people don't have a newborn baby for a decade now. And you know, but they just, however hard it is for me, it's a million times harder for them, and they are my babies. So you know, any parent would do the same. And I think another huge why now is that the NICE quality standards, the very first NICE quality standards, will be released mid-January 2021. They were meant to have been released this year, but because of COVID, that's been delayed, and I actually sit on the panel, and it's been fascinating to be surrounded by so many people who are so passionate about it, and some of the feedback from NICE, which was, I thought, speaks volumes, is for any topic, so it could be arthritis, it could be autism, for any topic that NICE have to make quality standards about, it has to go out to consultation to stakeholders to get feedback. And they said that the FASD stakeholder feedback was the biggest return they have ever had for any topic they've ever covered.
So it's obviously that's indicating that there's a definite interest, there's a definite need for it.
Yeah,
I mean, our paths have crossed through, you know, we work with your children, obviously Jess has come involved with that kind of whole dynamic.
I found you in the middle of the night at 3 a.m. searching, what can I do to help my children in education, because it's killing them. And then everything just happened from there.
And slightly different to me. We have an approach that, you know, we want to just end chronic engagement, and I think what you find is that the system is overburdened. There's children that are sat there who haven't even had the diagnosis yet, who are out, and what we want to do is, you know, these podcasts, these webcasts, and obviously as it continues, as you kind of take the baton on as well, is that it is a way to raise awareness, because as you know, to parent with 3, you know, even getting that for one child is hard. Now we estimate there's going to be tens of thousands of children, if not hundreds of thousands of children that are going to be affected by this. So the earlier we can raise awareness, the earlier we can actually help that people will listen to this and think, actually that rings a bell. This is what is happening to my child, or this is what the parent who's dealt with this can do, or this is somebody who wants to study more about it can do, because you are trailblazing in every way around a different pathway for helping young people with this condition, or helping people understand this condition better. So we've got another one of these to record, but we just want to say all the luck with everything, because you've got a big challenge ahead of you, and hopefully somebody's going to listen to this and want to help as well, or at least reach out and offer some advice and guidance. So good. Anything else? Why now? Why? Obviously the time of year, big coming up to the International Awareness Day. So
why now? Yeah, I think we've both been on this journey as we've been explaining, but we've just been waiting for the world to catch up with us, even to have like a tiny drop of that passion and that motivation that we have to get this message out there. But as you say, the Awareness Day on the 9th of September, that aligns really nicely with this time of year, and just the awareness on social media and everything, the conversations about FASD globally, but also in response to everything that's happened this year, really. Like, yes, we've got the NICE quality standards coming out in January. Scotland's diagnostic guidelines, the SIGN 156 guidelines, came out January 2019, but more so COVID, and all the conversation now about how children are impacted going back to school, and that's just because they got an extended, I'm not dismissing this at all, but because they got an extended
certainly leveled the playing field.
Break.
And we had this discussion actually outside of the office where, parents now will be much more appreciative of how difficult it is to school children at home, because they've had to do it. Now imagine children have been out of school for 3 or 4 years, multiply that by 3, or multiply that by how many that you have with additional needs, then I think the system will adapt and the system will change, and things will be hopefully made a lot better for every child, not just the one.
I definitely feel one of the huge plus sides to the pandemic, without a shadow of a doubt, is the fact that we have proven, we've set the precedents now, we have proven as a society, as a country, that the things that lots of parents like me have fought for years, we can't do it that way, that's just not how we do it, they were able to be put into place overnight. So what we do know now is that education absolutely does not need to look like 5 days inside 4 walls.
At 9 o'clock start.
Exactly, at 9 o'clock start. It's not what it needs to look like. And that actually, I'm really excited. I think because I haven't spoken to a teacher or anyone working in education yet who doesn't absolutely agree with that. And there's huge power in that. I feel like there's like a huge wave moving forward, and I think a lot of other work that I do within the NHS as well, that certainly in the trust where I live, the Mental Health NHS Trust, trauma-informed care is a trust priority. Now, trauma-informed care is a whole culture change, and the pandemic and the fact that trauma-informed care and recognising developmental trauma and people living with trauma and what it does to the brain development, it just all seems to be joining together in this huge big wave. And I just think if we miss this trick, if we miss this opportunity, then shame on us. And if I've got anything to do with it,
no, I don't. Yeah, there'll be words said, I think. Great. Well, thank you very much for coming in again. So remember, the videos will go up on YouTube. We are Nudge Education on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. You've set up your own social media feeds around this, which is Spotlight
on
FASD. And are they on all platforms? Is that across?
Instagram and Twitter and we'll be going on to Facebook as well, if people use Facebook.
Perfect. And Spotify and various other podcast feeds to find this. So thank you, and we look forward to recording the next one next week.
Thank you.